Hello and welcome back to another Dare to Game video. Today we are discussing the top 5 upcoming realistic video games that have been announced and that I am the most excited for. I'll be letting you know what these games are all about, what their release dates are whenever I can, and showing you what I can about them. If any of them interest you, I will have all of their trailers linked in the description, and I invite you to check them out after the video. But let's dive on in and get to it. Have you noticed how the gaming buzz has shifted from slaying dragons to mastering a plowshare or tightening the straps on a real steel helmet? Players everywhere are craving worlds that feel pulled straight from a museum exhibit, where grinding wheat, building a palisade, or rallying the local levy is every bit as thrilling as swinging a sword in battle. That hunger for authenticity has sparked a fresh crop of upcoming titles that throw out the fireballs and keep their feet firmly planted in the mud and blood of genuine medieval life. Over the next few minutes, we're diving into 5 of the most promising games in that space. Projects that rely on iron discipline, historical detail, and ruthless survival rather than magic. We'll start by looking at Lionhearts, an ambitious community-funded MMO that lets players rewrite the politics of the Crusades. Then we'll tour 4 very different visions of medieval realism spread across Europe and Asia. If you're eager to trade spells for strategy and sorcery for sweat, you're in the right place. Lionhearts is the rare MMO that trades spellbooks for ledgers and siege engines, inviting thousands of players to inhabit a living recreation of the late 12th century Mediterranean. Credenzio Studios is building its world on a one-character per server philosophy. Every farmer tilling wheat outside Accra, every guild cart hauling timber to Jaffa, and every knight guarding a trade caravan is controlled by a human being. Feudal law isn't flavor text. It is the game's backbone. You inherit or win titles, levy taxes from villagers, and balance the wrath of rival barons against the goodwill of the clergy and the purse strings of merchant families. Warfare plays out in real time on an enormous continuous map that stretches from the Crusader states to the edge of the Byzantine Empire. Food caravans must reach frontline armies or sieges grind to a halt, while scouts relay enemy movements by carrier pigeon or church tower bells. Credenzio is pursuing historically grounded combat, so you'll rely on shield walls, crossbow volleys, and supply lines rather than Phoenix Down respawns. Lose your life in battle, and your heir, potentially another player, steps into your shoes, inheriting lands, debts, and feuds. The studio's June 2025 Kickstarter pitch lays out an aggressive roadmap, a closed pre-alpha focused on village life and small unit clashes, a beta that opens the Levant's full geopolitical sandbox, and once fully funded, quarterly content drops that expand both map and era. Backers aren't just buying early access keys. Higher tiers grant everything from merchant charters to hereditary fiefs, each conferring real, enforceable power in the persistent world. Credenzio has already showcased prototype cavalry charges running in Unreal Engine 5, plus a granular economy where a blacksmith's daily iron output sets regional weapon prices. The campaign has rocketed past 50% of its initial goal in only a few days, but the devs emphasize that stretch milestones, like motion-captured swordplay and voice-acted council sessions, unlock only if they clear the final funding hurdle. If staking a claim in a historically authentic Crusader kingdom sounds like your idea of adventure, check out the Kickstarter link waiting in the pinned comment below and help bring Lionhearts to life. Chronicles Medieval pitches itself as a living sandbox that drops you in late medieval Europe with nothing but a sword, a patch of ground, and the nerve to carve out a legacy. Powered by Unreal Engine 5 and the studio's proprietary Asgard tech, it lets you fight in brutal third-person melees, then zoom out to command hundreds in field battles and sieges, melding the immediacy of Kingdom Come or Mountain Blade with Total War scale strategy. Every settlement runs on real-time economics. Grain shortages spike bread prices. Smithies stall when iron convoys are raided, and a flexible class-free progression system means you can pivot from mercenary to lord to outlaw as opportunities arise. Raw power promises fully destructible castle walls, seasonal farming cycles that keep armies fed, and a colorful aesthetic meant to evoke illuminated manuscripts rather than the usual mud-brown Dark Age palette. Behind the scenes, Raw Power Games is a new outfit of industry veterans determined to keep everything being 100% handcrafted. After walking back earlier experiments with generative AI, their reveal trailer, narrated by Tom Hardy and scored by Witcher composer Adam Sporka, showcased cavalry charges, fire arrow night assaults, and a lone player scaling a siege ladder while the wider battlefield raged in the background. The plan is to launch on PC in early access sometime in 2026, with mounted combat, kingdom management, and full Steam Workshop mod support available from day one. Quarterly updates will add cooperative campaigns, expanded map regions, and deep diplomacy that lets you marry into rival dynasties or betray them in a council hall. If it hits those marks, Chronicles Medieval could become the most ambitious attempt yet to marry gritty historical roleplay with grand strategy depth. Kinstrife casts you as a wandering ritter in the patchwork duchies of 13th century Germany, free to ride wherever duty, coin, or personal honor point you. The entire experience is single player and deliberately non-linear. You might spend a morning escorting a merchant barge down the Rhine, enter the lists of a tourney at noon, and finish the day storming a hilltop burg alongside a feudal host that you've sworn yourself to. What separates Kinstrife from more familiar slash and parry RPGs is its physics-driven combat core. Every blade angle, shield rim, and horse charge obeys momentum and mass, so timing and distance matter as much as your stats. Siege ladders buckle if too many men crowd them, arrows glance off properly angled breastplates, and a lance couched at full gallop can bowl an opponent into the fighters behind him, creating domino effects straight out of period Chronicles. Castles, monasteries, and market towns are laid out from surviving floor plans, while a reputation system tracks how lords, commoners, and the church alike react to the deeds, honorable or otherwise, that spread in ballad and rumor. Behind the helm is Finitude, a two-person indie outfit split between Berlin and Maastricht that has spent the last several years tinkering with bespoke animation rigs and motion capture to sell that weighty swordplay. The Steam page still lists the release as coming soon, but recent community posts explain the team delayed a planned 2024 demo to bundle a fuller slice of the open world, castles to explore, jousts to enter, and the first large-scale battle featuring dozens of AI combatants, following historically grounded formations. According to a January 2025 progress thread, 2025 is earmarked for that public demo, and for rolling out the game's retinue system, letting you recruit squires, footmen, and even a bard whose songs buff your morale. Influences range from Kingdom Come's meticulous armor research to Hellish Court's physics dueling, yet Kinstrife aims for broader campaign depth more reminiscent of early Mount and Blade. If Finitude can stitch those pieces together, it could deliver one of the most tactile, historically respectful sword-fighting experiences on the horizon. Middle Ages, Peasants and Knights is less about chivalric glory and more about the hard, splinter-in-your-hand graft of medieval subsistence. Dropping players into a procedurally placed 4-square-kilometer valley inspired by 14th century Central Europe, it begins with little more than a hatchet, a shoestring stamina bar, and a winter already looming on the calendar. Survival hinges on historically modeled agriculture, spring plowing with a scratch plow, rye and wheat rotations that deplete soil nutrients, and livestock that must be overwintered in byres you build board by board. A deep crafting grid lets you rive oak shingles, shape wattle panels, and daub them with lime-rich plaster, every structure following period carpentry guides the developers pulled from the Lubeck City archives. Bandits and wolves are threats, but hunger and damp prove deadlier. Clothing tears under load and must be rewoven on a warp-weighted loom, and rain saturation breeds mold that spoils stored rye unless the granary is properly vented. The aesthetic leans bright and painterly, evoking the literal salter rather than the brown-on-gray palettes typical of survival sandboxes, yet still sells the grime of thatched floors and pigsty mud. Neronian Studios, an 8-person outfit based in Krakow, began the project as a historical farming sim, only widening its scope after early patrons asked for co-op homesteads and feudal politics. The late 2025 roadmap promises solo play at launch, with drop-in village sharing arriving the following quarter so friends can split duties between foraging, smithing, and militia drill. A dynamic weather engine pushes hard decisions, gamble on a second hay cutting, and risk autumn floods rotting the crop, or call the fields early and watch livestock fodder run short by Candlemas. The studio's fortnightly devlogs showcase everything from period-accurate crop yields to an experimental crop failure mechanic driven by rainfall, soil pH, and pest pressure. One recent entry highlighted a blight outbreak that wiped out 40% of a QA tester's rye after they ignored mold warnings. Inspirations range from medieval dynasties' homestead loop to Green Hell's punishing survival demands, but Peasants Knights sets itself apart with its insistence on historically attested tools and techniques, right down to the Latin names of herbs that you dry for poultices. If the team hits its dates, it could become the most granular window yet into the day-to-day fight for bread and shelter in Europe's true Middle Ages. Blood Message sweeps players into the waning years of China's Tang-Dynasty, following a nameless imperial courier and his teenage son on a 3,000 li march east toward the capital of Chang'an. Their satchel holds an edict that could decide the fate of a rebellion erupting in the desert stronghold of Dunhuang, and every oasis, mountain pass, and war-torn town along the Silk Road becomes a set-piece arena for acrobatic swordplay and desperate escapes. NetEase likens the experience to Uncharted, crossed with the parkour and historical intrigue of Assassin's Creed. No magic, just crossbows, Dao sabers, fire lances, and the ever-present threat of starvation or sandstorms in a land scarred by civil war. Art direction leans on wuxia cinema and Tang pottery glazes for its color palette, while side activities, practicing calligraphy to steady nerves, cooking regional dishes to restore stamina, ground the adventure firmly in 8th century culture. Behind the curtain is 24 Entertainment, best known for Nakara Bladepoint, now folded into NetEase's new Thunderfire label to deliver what the publisher calls its first AAA single-player title. Built in Unreal Engine 5 with proprietary lighting and cloth physics tech, the game features motion-captured duels, physics-driven aero ballistics, and densely choreographed crowd scenes that can swell to hundreds during fortress assaults. The script is reportedly finished, voice work is underway, and performance capture is roughly halfway complete, but the studio is refusing to pin down a launch window beyond when it's perfect, suggesting a 2027 debut at the earliest. Confirmed platforms are PC and major consoles, with NetEase teasing haptic feedback for next-gen controllers. The reveal trailer showcases cliffside monasteries, camel caravans beset by brigands, and a final glimpse of Chang'an's vermilion walls ablaze as rebel banners close in. An early taste of the high-stakes historical drama the team aims to deliver. From the Levantine power struggles of Lionhearts to the Ryefield toil of Peasants and Knights, each of these projects proves there's an audience hungry for history served straight. No dragons, no arcane lightning, just the grit, ingenuity, and raw danger that defined life between the fall of Rome and the dawn of gunpowder. Chronicles Medieval aims to blend single-sword heroics with grand strategy command. Kinstrife is honing every parry until it feels bone-deep, and Blood Message carries us across the Silk Road battlefields that real envoys once braved. Together, they sketch a future where medieval game can mean as many things as the Middle Ages themselves, whether you're managing grain caravans, sealing dynastic alliances, or clashing steel beneath a torch-lit battlement. If any of these worlds sparked your imagination, let the developers know. Wishlist the titles on Steam, share the trailers, and join the conversations that keep historically grounded games alive. And if you'd like to move history forward yourself, don't forget to hit the Kickstarter link for Lionhearts in the pinned comment below. Your pledge could be the difference between another forgotten crusade and a living, breathing medieval sandbox built by its own community. Thanks for watching another Dare to Game video. If you liked this video, please leave a like and a comment. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you like my content and would like to support this channel, consider becoming a member today for as little as $1.99 a month. It makes a huge difference. But in any case, thanks for watching and have a nice day. I'll see you next time.